a Maimer. Now we're less than a month from Gimel Tammuz, and also I think less than 3 weeks from Chav Ches Sivan. Chav Ches Sivan is the day that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin arrived in the United States in 1941, safely from World War II. And Gimel Tammuz, of course, is the Hilula, and so we're going to learn a Maimer that this year Gimel Tammuz is Shabbos Parshas Kairach. So we're going to learn a Maimer from Shabbos Parshas Kairach, which the Rebbe had published and edited for Chav Ches Sivan in Tafshin Nun. So if you just take a look at the note on the bottom there, you'll see in the preface to the Maimer, the booklet that came out then. So it talks about Chav Ches Sivan, the significance, which obviously the Rebbe had proofread. That Chav Ches Sivan is a significant day that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin arrived safely to the United States, and at that time, that day, basically at that period, was when a whole new level of outreach started in Chabad. It was a whole new thing in Chabad. A Tnufa Chadasha, as I say, we have Tnufa Chadasha, which is like a renaissance, a new era. Thank you, a new era in Hafatz Samayonis and spreading of the wellsprings of Chassidus. When Tafshinun was the beginning of the 50th year. Yeah, Tafshin Aleph, Tafshinun. So at that point, the Frierdiker Rebbe had established the three central institutions of Chabad: Merkez L'Nei Chinuch, Machne Yisrael, and Kahas, and all three. So that was a whole new era, and Frierdiker Rebbe immediately appointed the Rebbe to lead all three institutions, and so that's Chav Ches Sivan. And of course, Gimel Tammuz, we're all familiar with the Cheshech Kafel Mechupel, the dark period that we're in after Gimel Tammuz. And Gimel Tammuz being a very significant day. So we're going to learn a Maimer from Shabbos Parshas Kairach, which, as we said, this year is Gimel Tammuz, and also it relates to Chav Ches Sivan, obviously, as well. Okay. So the Maimer is from a quote from a pasuk in Parshas Kairach. In Parshas Kairach, we're familiar with the rebellion that Kairach led against Moshe and Aharon. Kairach had challenged Moshe and Aaron's authority. Specifically, he said, why is Aaron not the high priest, and Kairach, who is also from the tribe of Levi, why he's not a high priest? The story with all the commentary and all the details, we're not going to get into that now. Anyway, Kairach ultimately fails in his rebellion, and he's swallowed into the ground, and there's a plague that strikes a lot of the people, a lot of his gang that had also rebelled. Anyway, later, after all this turmoil, so God instructs Moshe to collect the staff from all the heads of all the tribes. Everybody should provide their staff. The princes, the leaders of each tribe should provide their staff. Moshe should collect them, and he should place them in front of the Holy of Holies, in front of the Ark, in the Mishkan, and also Aaron's staff. Take Aaron's staff and put it there as well. And God says that the one whose staff will blossom, that's the one who I've chosen. And finally, once and for all, we'll be done with this rebellion and with the people second-guessing and their doubts. We'll be done with it because it'll be proven once and for all who God has chosen. And so Moshe collects all the staffs, puts them there, and then the next morning they come back and they see that Aaron's staff had blossomed. Not only had blossomed, the blossom had fallen off, the bud had sprouted, and almonds appeared already on the staff. So Aaron's staff has blossomed. Everybody comes back and takes their staff. Moshe shows it to everybody. Everybody takes their staff, and God says that Aaron's staff should remain next to the Holy of Holies, next to the Ark, which is where it remained. One of the things that were placed there in that place is a constant reminder for the Jewish people. Okay, so let's go in here in the Maimer. V'hinei Parach Matei Aharon gomer v'yigmol shkedim. So when the next morning they come and they see that they all come to see the staffs that were placed there the night before at the Holy of Holies, and it turns out that Aaron's staff, his Parach, had blossomed, and it vayetze Parach v'yatzis, it blossoms and it buds, and vayigmol shkedim, it had grown almonds. So Mavar B'Lukot Torah Divrei Maschal says, the Alter Rebbe explains in B'Lukot Torah the Maimer by the same title, the Hatam shegamal shkedim dafke hu ki shkedim he memarim lehigomer yosem kol haperes. Alter Rebbe explains, this is really the commentaries in the Chumash also explain why is it that it was almonds. So the Alter Rebbe explains because shkedim are the fastest fruit to ripen, that or really to appear. I think it's in the Tzemach Tzedek says it's a 3-week period from the blossom until the fruit starts to appear is 3 weeks, which is faster than all the other fruit that takes a lot longer from when it starts to blossom and bud. So
doing a nest anyway, so he can do a nest for whatever, anything. What's the difference?
Right.
Doing it over.
Okay, good, very good. So it doesn't happen overnight, so it's already miraculous. So
what's the difference?
So the point is, he's trying to teach us something. Right. So he's trying to teach us something. So.
Somebody came to the Rebbe and said, the Rebbe we can machen as was we darf nutzen the Keiches, was nutzen the Keiches. We can machen
Right, but this was obviously a miracle. Almonds don't develop and blossom overnight. It takes a while, and it's a whole period. There's a few month period.
From a dead stick.
Right, but from a dead stick, it's a non-almond, right? Just a walking stick. So, fine. But what's the reason shkedim dafke? So Rashi explains that why shkedim, the idea that shkedim, that almonds blossom quickly. So that was Hashem was saying, why did he choose that? It could have been a miracle, could have been anything. Why that? Because the fact that almonds blossom quickly, that was a lesson to the people that anybody who starts up with the priesthood, their retribution is going to be quick to come. It's going to be swift. So if it's just anything, it wasn't just merely a miracle. There was a lesson in the miracle. It wasn't just that there was a miracle that Aaron's staff blossoms, but it was trying to teach us something. The fact that it was specifically almonds teaches us the nature of what the lesson is, which is that the Paronius is going to come quickly, the retribution is going to come very quickly. But the Alter Rebbe says something else. Why was it specifically almonds? It could have been anything, because almonds develop quickly. And Alter Rebbe adds in Likutei Torah that it's not just that almonds develop quickly, but that also shalachin ikroim b'shem shkedim. This is also why almonds are called in Hebrew shkedim, elashin shkido mehirus, because shkedim has the same root as the word shkida or sheked. We're going to see in a moment, which means quickly, mehirus, swiftly. The Yirmiyahu, the prophet, who also happens to be a kohen, we learned about Kohana. But so the book of Yirmiyah opens with his initiation into prophecy, and the first thing is Hashem shows him a stick, and he asks him, "What do you see?" He says, "A makal shakid aniroya." He says, so the Eibusha says, "Hitaftalires Yirmiyahu, you saw well because shakid ani." The Eibusha says, the negative stuff that Yirmiyah prophesied of the destruction, and so this destruction was going to be coming swiftly. It was coming quickly. So the idea was that Yirmiyah didn't just see, you could say anything. You could say, God shows you a vision. You could see a stick. You could see that it's light outside, dark. You could see any kind of things. But Yirmiyah saw, was really, again, also to your point of your comment, Chaim, is that the idea that he said it was an almond stick or an almond blossom. What does that mean? Why almond? Because shake it, and in other words, Eibusha was giving him a message. It wasn't just a sign, a symbol, but it was a message with an instruction. He was able to gather and understand the instruction. Prophecy in general, there's an imagery or vision that the prophet sees, and the prophet needs to interpret that. So a prophet is somebody who can interpret the message from God, the sign from God, or the symbolism, that whatever it is, that his vision that he sees, he interprets and translates it into whatever the message is that the Eibusha wanted to tell him. So that was Yirmiyah's initiation. God shows him a vision, and he interprets it correctly. He says, Makal Shakid. He sees, and the Eibusha says, why is that good? Because what am I trying to tell you? It's not just that I'm sending something bad, but that it's Shakid ani al dvarei la'asosei. I'm hurrying, hastening to do it. So the Alter Rebbe adds that it's not just that in the commentaries in the Chumash where it says Makal that was shkedim, that it blossomed, that almonds were the ones that are what grew on the stick. So that just means that almonds, they grow quickly. So therefore, the Eibusha is sending a message that the retribution comes fast. But the Alter Rebbe adds not just that almonds blossom quickly, but that the fact that almonds blossom quickly, that's also why almonds are called shkedim, right? Because we know the name of something in Lashon HaKodesh it expresses what its essence is, what it is, right? We know that about when Eibusha creates the world, so the angels are saying, what's this great thing about man? What's so special about man, this simple, finite body and soul that you put on the earth? So it says to the angels, why don't you try and name all the things in this world? They couldn't do it. And comes to Adam, and he brings everything to Adam Arisha, and Adam says, this is called this, and this is called that. He calls Vayikol Shemus, right? Adam calls everything by their name, and they were impressed. Why? Because he was able to see the essence of everything, what it was, and therefore, and so on. He was saying, based on the characteristics, based on the nature and the essence of the thing, what the name of it is. So the name of something expresses what it is, right? So Shleimar, Shakavana b'Hisafa Zu Hilaram da Mehiris Shabishkedim Hi in Yanam. Kiddush Shmoy Shel Davar Meir Al in Yanam. Right? The Alter Rebbe is adding this idea that it's not just that Shkedim grow quickly, but also that they're called Shkedim because that's the inyan. Shkedim represents this idea of swiftness. And that's why Shkedim, why is it that the message that God is trying to express or convey about the priesthood comes out as expressed in Shkedim, in almonds, because all the flow of blessing and energy that comes through Aaron HaKohen, Aaron the priest. Aaron, we know the word Aaron, so the letters, if you read them backwards, or almost, you just scramble them a little, you get Nira. Nira means to see. We know already the concept of seeing, or is revelation, Giloi. So Aaron, Oisius Nira, means that Aaron brings about the blessing in a revealed manner. Right? So all these blessings that are revealed through Aaron and through the priesthood, come quickly. The same is true with regard to Aaron's descendants, all the priests, all the Kohanim. That when Kohanim bless the people, so that blessing comes down, that flow, that energy comes down here below very quickly, extremely fast, without any obstacles, without any delays. Okay, with Kelakam and Siv Zayin, we're going to get to that later on in the Maimer. But first we have to understand, what is this idea that there's a blessing, the flow of the blessing, it comes fast, it comes slow. What's the meaning of all this? So chapter 2, yeah? So the source of all of the energy that flows, all the blessings, everything that we have down here in this world, all of it is sourced in the chesed, kindness of the Eibishter. When you say His kindness, chazdoi, His kindness, what's His kindness? The chesed of Atzilus. We know that there are 4 worlds in general. Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiya. Atzilus is a world that's all God. There's nothing else, even though we call it a world, but everything is one with God. So when we say His kindness, that's in Atzilus. So Atzilus is the chesed of Atzilus, the kindness of Atzilus. That's the source of all of the kindness that flows down here into the world. So which is Bnei Chayim Mezayna, who al yidei shachesed yerid mishtalshu b'chol madregesh ma'atzilus v'adasiya. What, in order for this kindness of Atzilus to come down into Atzilus is all spiritual. Not only is it all spiritual, it's all God. It's Iyu v'chayoichad. Everything is one with God there. There's no otherness. So for that kindness to then be translated into physical kindness, into physical blessing, and in physical blessing, the blessings are divided into 3 categories. Bane, children. Chai is health. Umezayna, and sustenance. And parnasa, being able to pay for all of that. Right? So those are the 3 categories of needs that a human being has. So that happens through Chesed of Atzilus coming down through all the worlds. From Chesed of Atzilus has to go through Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, has to go through all the 10 attributes in Atzilus itself. And then from Atzilus has to go down to Bria, from Bria to Yitzira, etc. Till it comes into Asiya, and then into the physical aspect of Asiya, into our world. So Chesed, so all of our blessing, all of our needs are all already exist in Chesed of Atzilus. But they have to travel a long distance and through many, many stops, a long journey, in order to get down here to us in this world. And in every single step of the way, there is a din of mishpat, there's a judgment and an accounting, a deliberation. In every step of the way, and there are myriads of steps. Right? It's not just 30, 40 steps. It's each one is made up of, so there are so many steps, and each step, as it goes down to the next level, there's another deliberation. Should it continue down or should it stay where it is? So this is why we daven every day, and we pray and we ask God, Rifa'enu, heal us, Baruch Aleinu, bless us, which we're asking to bless, we should have sustenance. That's the bracha, Baruch Aleinu, Avshem Zaynayis Shaladam Ksuvim Lemir Hashem V'Yam Yom Kippurim. Even though a person, we know the famous Gemara that a person's sustenance is already determined in the high holidays in Rosh Hashanah Kippur. And when we say sustenance here, is in mezainis, we don't just mean Parnas, we don't just mean his physical sustenance, his money, his financial state, but we're talking about all three levels of needs of Banei Chayim Mezayna. So all of that is already determined in Rosh Hashanah. Your children, your health, and your sustenance is kiaksi. So if it's already established on determined in Rosh Hashanah, so why do we pray every day for it? What is determined on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur when we say that you should be inscribed and sealed for good? When we say that during the high holiday period, that is so that the chesed that's in chesed, the kindness or the sustenance that's in chesed of Atzilus should come to the lowest level of Atzilus, the Malchus of Atzilus. And then the idea is that after that is already determined, and on Rosh Yom Kippur we're certain that we're getting a ksivach simatova, God is inscribing and seals for a good year. The problem is that could remain up in Atzilus, in Malchus of Atzilus. We live in the physical world. We need it to come down into this world. So that's why we daven every single day. We pray 3 times a day for our needs. The 12 brachas in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, in the middle of the Midah that we pray every single day are for our needs. So even though those needs are already predetermined, nevertheless, we pray so that it should continue to flow down here into this world. It shouldn't remain in a higher stage. So this is the meaning of what the Gemara says, that a person is judged every single day. Even though a person is already judged and it's determined already on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Ki Hadin Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim hu sheyumshach chesed la'adam b'malchus datzilis. What is the judgment that happens on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is so that the person's energy, blessing should come into the level of malchus of Atzilus. And what does it mean that a person is judged every single day? Is im hu roi shachesed shenimshach kvar al nafshei l'mayla b'Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim yerid v'yumshach b'bri yitzir v'asiyah ad sheyumshach lamata b'elam haza agashmi. So the determination every single day, the judgment every single day is whether that sustenance, that blessing should continue to flow down into this world, into a person, into the physical world, or it should remain up in heaven. And what's the point of the blessing? A person having blessing in heaven is that it increases the pleasure of the soul up in heaven, but it doesn't impact down here in this world. So this is why we pray every single day, and we ask God for all these needs of heal us and bless us, bless our crops, etc., bless our businesses. It's that we pray that this kindness that was already determined for us, it was set aside for us, our Rosh Yom Kippur should come down into this world. And even in this physical world, it should come into physical things as well. Because you want him to, right? So you don't just want to have happiness and be have an your emotional well-being, but you want it even to come into physical things, to your business, using the grocery, right? So that even the business should bless your money, right? There should be physical health, not just spiritual. In other words, a person's emotional well-being and health is also something physical, but it's not as tangible as in the physical as in physical things. So it's like the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns to gold. That blessing comes down into actual whatever you physically touch turns to gold. Right? In other words, that whatever you touch, you see success in those things as well. So it should come into it. The blessing rests in the physical things that you're involved with. So that's one thing that a person. So we have this. In Kunter Samayin, he quotes from it over the course of a few Mamorim, so the Rebbe Rashab discusses this. He asks this question. We know famously that we say that everything is determined on Rosh Yom Kippur, and yet every single day we daven. So it's a famous question, right? How do we reconcile this? So he discusses there this idea that there's the general blessing or determination that's established for you, set for you on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but that could remain in heaven. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come down in the physical and manifest itself in the physical world. So you have X amount of dollars, let's say, coming to you this year, but those X amount of dollars could be spiritual dollars, and whatever that means in the spiritual sense, the pleasure that the soul has in heaven. We want that blessing should also come into the physical. It should also translate into cold hard green cash, right, or into actual good health, physical health, and actual children, spiritual children. What?
You have money and there's cash flow.
Exactly. They're two very different things. Yeah. So that's the idea that a person's judged every single day. So that's one thing. But another aspect of the judgment of every single day, since the kindness that comes from above is spiritual kindness, even after the determination that it should come down to this world, there still has to be a deliberation in what capacity this kindness will be manifest. That's why we established the 12 blessings in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, the book ended by the 3 at the beginning and 3 at the end, the 12 in the middle, which encompass all of the person's needs and all of the community's needs, all communal needs. We don't know, what do we know from exactly our needs, but the sages, when they instituted the blessings of the Amidah of Shemoneh Esrei, so they included in all those 12 blessings are all the needs that we might have, the physical needs as well as all the communal needs. So what does this mean? What's the second point here? So the first point is that all of your blessing is already allotted to you, but it remains in the spiritual realm. And we ask every day for blessings to come down into this world. It should be manifest in a physical way, in the material way. But another point is that blessing that's determined for you above. So let's say the analogy we gave before that this year you're going to earn $100,000. That $100,000 in spiritual currency is what? What does that mean? What's 100,000 spiritual dollars? It could be anything. It's an abstract concept. So that $100,000 currency, let's say spiritual currency, could come down in this world as children. It could come down in this world as health. It can come down in this world in cash. It could be any of those. It's not one specific thing. So we ask, number one, we ask that the blessing should not remain in the spiritual, it should also come into the physical world. And number two, we ask that it should come into all these categories of all our physical needs. It shouldn't remain one, it shouldn't come down in one way. Like, you can talk about being wealthy. So a person could say, even in this world, you could say, I'm wealthy because I have a very big bank account, I have a lot of money. You could say, I'm wealthy because I have a lot of children. You're wealthy because you're very healthy. You can even use that terminology of wealth and mean different things with it. So wealth, in its theoretical sense, could be a bunch of different things. So that's what we ask, that blessing that God has determined for us, since it's spiritual in nature, it doesn't take on a specific form, and so we ask that it should take on the form of Banei Chaim Mezayna. Come in all these things. This is also the idea. We say that Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Tishrei in general, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Rosh Hashanah specifically is called Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. Why is it called the head of the year? It's Tchilas Hashanah, it's the beginning of the year. Why do we call it the head of the year? Because just as the head contains, you mentioned before, we were talking about Yafa Koyach Haben in the last Maimer, so a person has all of the potential and energy within themselves. And whereas the seed of all that is in the mind, in the brain. And then it has that energy in its source is abstract, and then it comes into a specific energy. So you have the energy, the capacity to see, which is expressed through the eyes, the capacity to hear, which is expressed in the ears, the capacity of movement, which is expressed in the extremities and in the limbs. So you have energy as it is, in its essence, as it's not defined. Then you have as it's defined and as it has to come out in a specific way. In some people, that energy doesn't come out. Right? So we discussed in the last Maimer the idea that a child could be born with abilities that the parents don't have. How is that possible if you come from your parents? Because the parents have the ability intact, but in its purest form, in its essence. It for whatever reason, it doesn't manifest in the parent because there's something wrong either with the limb or with whatever. There's some disconnection there. But the potential is there. So the same is true here. That Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, why is it called Rosh Hashanah, the end of the year? Because all of the energy is already there. Throughout the year, a person is judged every single day. What does that mean? That energy should come from its potential, from its abstract form, or its general form, as it is chesed of Atzilus, and as it is in Malchus Atzilus, it should come and flow into every specific category, in children, health, and parnasa, all of it in its proper way, shape, and form. Let's take a look at note 11. We're talking about the fact that a person is judged every single day. So the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, there's Mishnah, right, that talks about that. The Mishnah says in Rosh Hashanah that the world is judged at 4 stages during the year, which is also some seemingly contradiction to the Mishnah we quoted before from the Gemara from Beitza about Rosh Hashanah, but that there are 4 periods of the year that the world is judged. This is judged in one period, this is judged in another period. We just went through Shavuos when fruit is judged on Shavuos. So the Gemara over there says says that the Gemara, that this Mishnah doesn't seem to work with a bunch of different opinions of different sages, right? So one of them is Rabbi Yossi, who says a person is judged every single day. Rabbi Nassim says the person is judged every moment, b'chol shah. So let's look at the note here, note 11. So Rosh Hashanah Tazayin Aleph, Virei Lukut Torah Sham the Gam L'das Rabbi Yossi Rosh Hashanah Sham the Adam Nidim B'chol Yom V'chein L'das Rabbi Nassim the Adam Nidim B'chol Shah Iker Hadin Hu B'Rosh Hashanah V'chein L'idach Shegam L'Rabbanan the Pligi Rabbi Yossi Yesh Din B'chol Yom Shalachim V'akshim B'chol Yom Abakash Shabashbein Asrei. So in other words, in the Gemara there you could learn, the Gemara actually says that our Mishnah in the Gemara there doesn't work with these opinions of these sages. But so you could see that there are different opinions whether a person is judged Rosh Hashanah. So if somebody asks, well, how is it we say that a person is judged on Rosh Hashanah, but we say that we daven every day? You could say it's different opinions. One opinion is that they're judged Rosh Hashanah, another opinion, but the Chassidus explains no, that's not the case. That actually all opinions work together. They're not in conflict. There's no contradiction. They're all talking about different things. Sorry? They're not arguing with each other. As if you continue over here, he says, see Baruchim Kutur Samayin, where he also brings this question, and he says over there, the Mara Marchada V'Leipligi. Each one says something, and they're not arguing. They're all talking about a different aspect. In other words, and what's the? And the Rebbe has talks about this at length in Kutur Sichos and Chelek Tes, talks about it al Pi Nigla. But over here in this footnote in 11. That basically makes a basic point. That you have to say that they're not arguing. Why? Because to the sages that say that you're judged on Rosh Hashanah, so what happens on the rest of the year? What does their Shemona Esrei look like? What are they davening for? They're not asking Baruch Aleinu, they're not asking Rafeinu. And according to Rabbi Yossi, who says a person is judged every single day, he doesn't have a machzor that he davens from Rosh Hashanah. He doesn't say Aksiv Chsimat Tova, of course, Rabbi Yossi, with the Jewish people, Aksiv Chsimat Tova. In other words, there's the prayer of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur when we ask for all these things, and there's the prayer every single day. And everybody davens the same nusach. So what does it mean? So obviously we have to say that there's not an argument here. Right? Because if there was, if you only were judged Rosh Hashanah, then why are you talking davening every day? There's plenty to daven without asking for your needs, but why are you asking for your needs? And the other side, if you're judged every single day, what's so special about the high holiday davening? So obviously, according to all of them, there's an aspect of being judged in Rosh Hashanah. So Rabbi Yossi is talking about every single day, how a person's judged every single day, and so therefore that's as we explain inside here, the idea that the energy or whatever is determined on the high holidays in general that remains in the spiritual realm, every single day we have to pray that it comes down in the physical as well, the physical expression of it. Okay. So v'hinei chapter 3. Gimel. So v'hinei ikar adinu mishpat. What time is it? Okay, we have time. Okay. V'hinei ikar adinu mishpat be'ezay in yom shachar chesed kesha chesed shiriksav le'berasha rabbi mekburim u'chesed mitzumtzum b'yaser. This main thing is that Rebbe is adding another layer here. That this main idea of the judgment that happens, and in what way? So we said two things. We said that we want, number one, that the energy should come from Atzilus and from Bria and Yitzir, because it could get stuck anywhere along the way, that it should come all the way down to the physical world. And also, we pray that it come down in these three categories of our needs. It comes into all aspects of our lives. So this main thing of the judgment that happens, that about whether what is determined on the high holidays comes down, that is mainly, where is that judgment mainly felt? That's when you're judged, Rosh Yom Kippur, and it's determined that you're going to get the chesed mitzumtzum b'yeser, a very limited amount of kindness. Which is she'enei maspik sheyumshachu mimenu kol gimel anyanim debana chayim mezena el rak shnayim mem hayechad mehem. This main idea of the judgment is, particularly when you're not granted an abundant flow of kindness. Rosh Yom Kippur, you're granted a limited kindness. And now what happens? Now you don't have enough kindness to spread out in all three categories. You might have enough kindness for two or for one. So that's where the liberation, the din v'cheshbon that takes place every single day, that judgment is a much greater one, because it needs to be determined where that kindness is going to go, how we're going to use the limited resources. So then, what's the judgment? The judgment is to determine whether the kindness will be used in children, in sustenance and health, or in parnasa and sustenance. Tfilas at tzaddik, ma'eles lahachlev minyan, and the prayer of a tzaddik can help move it from one thing to another. Right? And this the Rebbe quotes also here from Kutur Semayin, where the Rebbe Rashab says the same thing here in the brackets. Like the story about the Baal Shem Tov. There's a couple that came to the Baal Shem Tov that weren't blessed with children. They came to the Baal Shem Tov asking him to pray that they should have children. This man who came, this couple that came, were very wealthy. So the Baal Shem Tov told them that if they're willing to become poor, to be impoverished, then he can bless them to have children. When they accepted this upon themselves and they said, we agree to become poor, they had children and they became poor. What happened here? Why is the Baal Shem Tov not playing he's not being cruel to them? He's saying the Baal Shem Tov saw that the kindness that they have was limited. And so therefore it would only come out one of these things. So he said you have to make a choice. Do you want it? First of all, you have to be the Baal Shem Tov, you have to be a tzaddik to see this, what's going on in heaven with these people. And furthermore, to be able to actually transfer it from one account to the other. So Baal Shem Tov said, you have enough for one. You can either be wealthy or you can have children. So you have to choose. And then, and the Baal Shem Tov, through his prayer, was able to, so A, the Baal Shem Tov said that he saw it, and B, he was able, through his prayer, the prayer of a tzaddik, to transfer from to the other. So we see that this idea of the judgment is mainly expressed when a person it has limited resources available to them, and there has to be a deliberation where that sustenance, where that blessing is going to go, in which thing. So we could say that when the kindness and the flow that's coming is limited and there's not enough to go around in all three categories, so then this judgment is even more pronounced. In order to transfer this kindness from one thing to another, that comes specifically through the prayer of a tzaddik. But nevertheless, notwithstanding the fact that the main determination of the deliberation of the judgment is pronounced and felt mainly when there's not enough kindness for all three, and you need to decide which one is going to go to, and you need the tzaddik to bless you and to pray for you in order for to pray, the tefillah of the tzaddik, to exchange it from one to the other. Nevertheless, this is true even when a person has abundant blessing coming to them, kindness coming to them. So nevertheless, yesh dinu mishpat b'chol yom b'negei l'chol hashpa pratis. V'lachem ispal b'chol yom v'yud beis brachis emtzoyis sheyesh ben shaylas kol dvarim. So therefore, the person prays every single day at the 12 brachas in the middle, because even for a person who has enough kindness to go around, nevertheless, for it to come down in every specific detail, we need to pray and ask that it comes down from the spiritual realm into the physical, translates into cold, hard, physical, material brachas that are tangible. Well, I'll just finish with a story. This story, the Rebbe quotes here, the Baal Shem Tov, is actually the Rebbe Rashab also mentions in Kuntas Umayim. There's a story with the Rebbe Rashab also that is in my wife's family about 1907. In 1907, the Rebbe Rashab, for health reasons, was in Würzburg. He had to be outside of Russia, he had to be where there was better climate, so he was in Würzburg, Germany. And there was a very wealthy Jew in Würzburg, Germany, named Eliakim Wolf, Philip Wolf. He was a German Jew, a Yeken, wasn't a Chassid, and he was very wealthy. He had a very big house, and the Rebbe Rashab came to stay at his house, and he and his wife said the Rebbe can stay in his house. They gave the Rebbe their house, and they stayed in the maids' quarters. They had another house, a separate house, their maids' quarters. They moved themselves into the other house, the smaller place, and they left the big house for the Rebbe Rashab to live there and do whatever he needed to do and to meet people, etc. And the Rebbe Rashab was there for almost a year. In fact, a lot of Hemshech Samach Vav is in Würzburg. Yeah. So the Rebbe Rashab was working on Samach Vav then. He was writing the Hemshech, was saying the Hemshech. He was in a few places, but a chunk of it is in Würzburg. In fact, in the letters from that time period, his address is Wolf, Würzburg. That's where he was. Anyway, after he finished, when the Rebbe Rashab's time was up in Würzburg, he was leaving. So he called in the Wolves. I wanted to thank them for a great Tachnas Archim, and he asked them if there's anything they need. So they said, as a matter of fact, they don't have any children. They wanted a blessing for children. So the Rebbe Rashab said to prepare a fish and to bring it to him. So his wife went, prepared a fish, and they brought it. The Rebbe Rashab ate some. He gave them to eat some of the fish, and then he said to them, "I can't help you in Würzburg. But if you agree to leave and to relocate, then I can help you. And they both on the spot agreed. They said, yeah, we're willing to do whatever. So the Rebbe Rashab gave them a bracha, and sure enough, they immediately had to sell them. This wolf had a partner, and because he was determined to leave town, he had to relocate. So he sold his half of the business at a great loss, below market value to his partner, and he lost a lot of money. But he sold it, then they relocated, then they moved away, and they were blessed with children. In fact, their grandchildren are around today. They're not actually Lubavitchers, but they're around. There's grandchildren that are living, breathing, walking the earth today that are a bracha from the Rebbe Rashab, which is how his nephew would eventually come to Lubavitch. Ephraim Wolf, the famous chassid, the Rebbe's right-hand man in Israel, he came to Lubavitch because he had heard the story in the family of what had happened. His uncle was blessed with children, a bracha from the Rebbe Rashab. The point is that you see this idea that the Rebbe Rashab, saw what he saw. For whatever that means, that there's a limited bracha, that in Würzburg it wasn't going to work. There wasn't enough to be in Würzburg and have children.